Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains lay the Forgotten Woods, a vast stretch of wilderness untouched by time. Locals whispered of strange happenings, disappearances, screams in the night, and shadowy figures lurking between the trees. Few ventured near, and those who did rarely returned. The woods were a labyrinth of ancient trails, hidden caves, and unmarked territory, where danger lurked at every turn. For 6 friends on a road trip, it would become the deadliest mistake of their lives. College seniors Rachel, Tyler, Jess, Ethan, Sophia, and Mark were heading to a remote cabin for a weekend getaway. It was supposed to be an escape from their busy lives, a chance to unwind before graduation. Rachel, the adventurous one, had found the cabin online. "It's secluded, rustic, and right in the middle of nature," she'd said. "It'll be fun." The group piled into Mark's van early Friday morning, their spirits high. The GPS led them deep into the mountains, where the roads narrowed and the forest thickened. By late afternoon, they reached a fork in the road. The GPS froze, displaying a blank screen. "Great," Ethan muttered, tapping the screen. No signal. A weathered sign pointed left, labeled Blue Ridge Trail. To the right, an overgrown dirt road stretched into the trees. "Shortcut?" Mark suggested, grinning. Rachel shrugged. "Let's take it. It's probably faster." The van bounced along the uneven road, its tires crunching on gravel. The forest grew denser, the trees towering above them like silent sentinels. After an hour, the dirt road narrowed further, forcing Mark to slow down. "I don't think this is a shortcut," Jess said nervously, glancing out the window. The shadows between the trees seemed to move, as if something or someone was watching. Suddenly, the van jolted to a stop. "What the hell?" Mark muttered, stepping out to investigate. A crude barricade of logs and branches blocked the path. It looked deliberate, as though someone had placed it there. As the group debated whether to turn back, they didn't notice the faint rustling in the woods. A pair of eyes, hidden in the underbrush, watched their every move. Frustrated, the group decided to move the barricade. As they worked, a deafening snap echoed through the air. Ethan screamed, clutching his leg. A rusty bear trap had snapped shut around his ankle, its jagged teeth digging deep. "Help him!" Rachel shouted, but before they could act, a guttural growl came from the woods. A hulking figure emerged, its face obscured by a twisted mask made of animal bones. It wielded a blood-stained axe and moved with terrifying speed. "Run!" Tyler yelled, dragging Ethan back toward the van. The others scrambled inside, slamming the doors just as the masked figure swung its axe, embedding it in the side of the vehicle. Mark floored the gas pedal, the van lurching backward before speeding away down the narrow road. The figure didn't follow but stood motionless, watching them disappear into the distance. The group drove for miles, but the road only seemed to lead them deeper into the forest. With Ethan's injury worsening and the gas gauge nearing empty, they were forced to stop near an abandoned clearing. Jess tended to Ethan's wound, using strips of cloth torn from her shirt to staunch the bleeding. "We need to find help," Rachel said. "There's got to be a way out of here." The group decided to split up. Mark and Tyler would search for a cell signal, while Rachel, Jess, and Sophia stayed behind to care for Ethan. Mark and Tyler wandered through the forest, calling out for help. They found a faint trail marked with strange symbols carved into the trees. "This feels wrong," Tyler said, but Mark pressed on, determined. The trail led to a gruesome discovery: a clearing filled with makeshift traps. Skulls hung from branches, and animal carcasses were strewn about. In the center was a crude wooden structure resembling a cage. Inside, a decayed corpse hung limply, its eyes gouged out. Before they could react, a trap was triggered. A spiked log swung down, striking Mark in the chest and pinning him to a tree. Tyler screamed, but his cry was cut short as a second figure appeared, a man with a grotesquely scarred face, wielding a jagged spear. Back at the van, Rachel and the others heard distant screams but couldn't pinpoint the source. Desperate, they decided to carry Ethan and search for shelter. After hours of stumbling through the forest, they found a dilapidated cabin. Inside, the walls were lined with trophies, human skulls, teeth, and rusted tools stained with blood. A map of the forest was pinned to the wall, marked with trails and red X's. "This isn't a cabin," Jess whispered. "It's a hunting lodge." Suddenly, the door creaked open. The masked hunter from earlier stood silhouetted in the doorway. Chaos erupted as he lunged at them. Rachel grabbed a broken chair leg, striking him across the head. The group managed to escape, dragging Ethan into the woods once more. By nightfall, only Rachel, Jess, and Sophia remained. They stumbled upon an ancient cave hidden beneath the roots of a massive tree. Inside, they found the remnants of past victims, clothing, personal belongings, and crude drawings on the walls depicting violent hunts. The hunters, 3 of them, closed in, their laughter echoing through the cave. Rachel improvised a plan. Using the debris in the cave, she and the others set a trap, rigging a boulder to fall when triggered. As the hunters entered, Rachel taunted them, drawing them deeper. The trap worked, crushing one of the hunters beneath the boulder. The others, enraged, attacked. In a brutal struggle, Jess was mortally wounded but managed to stab one of the hunters before succumbing to her injuries. Rachel and Sophia fled, using the map from the cabin to find their way out of the woods. As dawn broke, they stumbled onto a highway, bloodied and exhausted. A passing truck stopped, and the driver called for help. As they waited for the authorities, Rachel looked back at the tree-line. The hunters were nowhere to be seen, but she knew the woods still held their secrets. Months later, Rachel couldn't shake the memories. She began researching the area and discovered a dark history of inbreeding, isolation, and violence. The Forgotten Woods had been home to generations of twisted families who hunted outsiders for sport. One night, as she sat alone in her apartment, she received a package with no return address. Inside was a crude carving of her face, with a single word scratched into the wood, "Soon." It was a tale parents told their children to keep them out of trouble, a traveling carnival that appeared under the cover of night, leaving nothing but silence and sorrow in its wake. Those who entered often vanished, and those who returned were changed. They spoke of games that weren't really games, of a sinister ringmaster who watched with empty eyes, and of a masked jester whose laughter echoed long after the carnival had disappeared. For decades, the Midnight Carnival had been nothing more than a ghost story. But for 6 friends in the small town of Ridgewood, that story was about to become their reality. It began with a dare. Claire, the group's bold leader, convinced her friends Eli, Jordan, Sarah, Mia, and Theo, to explore an abandoned lot on the outskirts of town. There had been whispers that the Midnight Carnival was coming, and Claire wanted to see it for herself. As the group reached the field, a chill settled over them. The air grew heavy, and a faint tune drifted through the night, a haunting melody played on a calliope. Then, as if summoned by their presence, the carnival materialized before them. Twinkling lights flickered to life, and colorful tents stretched toward the starless sky. "This is insane," Theo muttered, his breath visible in the cold air. But Claire was already walking toward the entrance, excitement written across her face. The others hesitated but followed. The gate loomed before them, guarded by a grinning figure in a top hat and a mask that gleamed like porcelain. "Welcome to the Midnight Carnival," the figure said, his voice rich and velvety. "Once you enter, you must play. There are no spectators here." He handed them golden tickets, each inscribed with the same words, "Survive until the bell tolls 12." Inside, the carnival was alive with dazzling lights and strange sights. Performers on stilts towered over them, acrobats twisted through the air, and fire dancers illuminated the dark corners of the fairgrounds. But something about the place felt off. The laughter of the crowd sounded forced, the performers' smiles stretched too wide, and the shadows seemed to move on their own. They decided to stick together as they explored. The first game they encountered was a shooting gallery. "Easy," Eli said, picking up a rifle. He aimed at a row of spinning targets shaped like wolves and hit 3 in a row. But as he celebrated, the targets' eyes lit up, and their snarling faces turned toward him. A deep voice rumbled from the booth. "Miss a shot, and the game takes its prize." Eli froze, then fired again, but this time he missed. A shadow emerged from behind the booth, pulling him away. His scream was swallowed by the carnival's music. The others panicked. "This isn't a game," Sarah whispered. "We need to leave. __record__." As they searched for an exit, they encountered the Shadow Jester, a figure clad in black and crimson, his mask frozen in a wicked grin. He tilted his head as he approached, his footsteps eerily silent. "Leaving so soon?" he asked, his voice echoing like a broken melody. Claire tried to reason with him. "We didn't mean to come here. We'll leave and never come back." The jester laughed, a hollow, bone-chilling sound. "You misunderstand. Once you enter the Midnight Carnival, you belong to it. The only way out is to play." Reluctantly, the group was forced to participate in the carnival's twisted attractions. Each game was more dangerous than the last, designed to exploit their deepest fears. Mia was trapped in a labyrinth of reflections, where her distorted doppelgangers taunted her. When she finally found the exit, she was not alone, one of her reflections stepped through with her. Jordan was forced to cross a narrow rope suspended high above a pit of churning fog. Halfway across, the rope began to fray. He leaped to safety but was marked with a black handprint on his arm, a sign of the carnival's claim. Sarah was strapped to a carousel that spun faster and faster, flashing images of her most painful memories. The ride only stopped when she screamed for mercy. The group grew weaker and more fractured with each game. The jester appeared often, always watching, always laughing. As midnight approached, the survivors stumbled upon the carnival's beating heart, the ringmaster's tent. Inside, they found a collection of artifacts, watches, jewelry, and photographs, all belonging to past victims. Among them was a tattered journal that revealed the truth: the Midnight Carnival fed on fear. Each game was a ritual, and the carnival thrived on the terror of those who played. The journal also revealed a possible escape, destroying the Shadow Jester, who served as the carnival's enforcer. "If we take him out, maybe we can break the cycle," Claire said. The group lured the jester to the Ferris wheel, where they set a trap using tools scavenged from the rides. As the wheel turned, the jester climbed after them, his scythe glinting in the moonlight. The battle was fierce, the jester moved with inhuman speed, his laughter growing louder with each swing. In a final act of bravery, Claire distracted the jester while Theo used a broken metal rod to strike him through the chest. The jester's laughter turned into a deafening scream as his body dissolved into shadows. As the bell tolled 12, the carnival began to collapse. Tents folded into themselves, the rides crumbled, and the lights flickered out. The survivors, Claire, Jordan, and Theo, ran for the exit, clutching their golden tickets. They emerged into the empty field just as dawn broke. The carnival was gone, leaving only the eerie silence of the woods. Weeks later, Claire returned to the field, unable to shake the feeling that something was watching her. She found a single object lying in the grass, the jester's mask. As she picked it up, a voice whispered in her ear, "The carnival never truly ends." In the distance, the haunting melody of the calliope began to play once more.